Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be working on week 35 of Project Life, and I just got my brand new order of the Best Day collection from Pinkfresh Studios. And when I say collection, I mean I've just got bits and pieces from that collection. I didn't get the whole collection. So I got a few 12 by 12 papers, I got a bunch of embellishments, and the 6 by 6 paper pad. So that's basically what I'm going to be working with today, but it's been sitting on my desk for a couple of days and I really wanted to use it. I know that this collection's kind of autumny, fall based, and I'm working spring, but I think it still works nicely with it, so I'm trying something a little bit different today. I've got two of the kind of ephemera die cut packs, and I'm going to go through those first and pick out some of the bits and pieces and then choose my papers. I normally do it round the other way, so I normally pick my papers first and then kind of pick embellishments to suit. But as I was going through that paper pad, I know the kind of colours and patterns that I was drawn to, and it will be no surprise to you if you've been around here for any length of time, that I was sort of aiming more towards the pinks, obviously, and actually I'm really glad that I did it this sort of kind of reverse way, because I end up with something totally different than what I probably would have had, because I'm picking out these embellishments first, and most of the ones that I pick out are a little bit, shock here, green toned, even some really kind of citrusy greens. So that's definitely a different direction than what I would have ended up with if I had started with the paper first. So I've got two die cut packs. One's definitely more floral based and one is more kind of little bits and pieces, which is what I'm going through here. There are some florals in there as well, and I will end up using a few of those florals. Like, I know that it's fall based, but there's enough florals in there that kind of make it appropriate for my little spring layout here. You can see the daffodils up there in the photo with Lily. So I've picked out a few die cuts. I'm definitely not going to use all of these ones. And now I'm going to go back through the paper pad. Now I've got a better sense of kind of the idea of the colors that I'm going to work with. I can go back through and pick out some papers. So the first one that I picked was this light blue sort of floral pattern. And from there, I kind of end up going, I guess, kind of neutral rainbow. Is that a thing? There's this kind of creamy colored polka dot card, and I really loved the rainbow stripe. It's very different from probably what I normally would have had as far as a rainbow stripe, but there was that embellishment, that sort of long strip. It's actually got a hole in it, and I don't use the hole. I kind of use it more like a piece of washi tape. And I really liked that, so it worked nicely with that kind of rainbow paper. I just obviously couldn't have rainbow on rainbow, so I swapped the dot pattern for the stripe down the bottom. And that's kind of going to give me my basics. I've got one spot in here, one 3x4 spot for journaling this week, and I did actually buy that particular 12 by 12 paper with the idea of using those individual little pieces as kind of journaling spots, not just on Project Life, I guess, but I kind of want to treat it a bit more like a cut apart sheet rather than a 12 by 12 paper. So I'm just going to start, because I've kind of been just umming and ahhing along here for a little bit too long. I want to just get some of this down, and so I have grabbed my paper trimmer and I've trimmed this paper down to 4x6, and I'm going to keep everything pretty simple this week. There's not going to be too much involved in the way of layering whatnot. I added my photos, and I just added that little die cut banner in underneath. Now for my photo of this amazing box of donuts, this particular week was, I guess partially, it wasn't the first week, but on the Wednesday, our lockdown shifted to level 3, so we were allowed to order takeout or delivery food, and so a lot of this week revolved around food, so there are a lot of food photos in here. I just kind of want to bring back that springiness a little bit, so I've got my So Happy die cut, and I just want to add a little floral underneath there. Like I said, there's a lot of greens going on, so I did introduce a little bit more blue. There's lots of different colored florals in there, but I kind of wanted to keep the leaves in that darker green tone, but then add a little bit of the blue in, because for me at the moment, that blue floral pattern that I've picked out stands out a little bit on its own. There's not a whole lot of blue in here, so I want to add a few other little bits and pieces just to kind of tie that all together. Now this, I've done a photo enlargement this week because I really loved this photo of Lil with my daffodils, and I kept it really simple and just added another, I mean it's a fake layered, a little layered embellishment strip that runs across. I did have to cut it to cut my photo into the 3x4 portions, but you can still kind of read it. I've kind of cut through the middle there and I didn't trim out the middle piece, so you can kind of read it. It does have the gap in it, but I'm just going to live with it. It was a sentiment that was too long to fit into one of the 3x4 spots, and I didn't want to add it to the top in the 4x6 because the bottom just had that natural place for it to go. So I've compromised and just allowed it to be cut in half there. Now I've got my photo of my second vaccine appointment here, and I kind of want to add just a couple of stickers to this. I haven't opened the stickers up yet, so I really wanted to do that because I love these kind of, I mean, they call them cardstock stickers, and that's what they are. They're kind of just like thick paper stickers, so they're not chipboard, which means they're perfect for Project Life, which is why I got the sheet. What I did want to do though was layer them. So again, I've got this green, and I probably wouldn't use that ordinarily. So I've got this really dark green ticket. The sentiment on it was like, okay. It was okay. It just wasn't like totally perfect for this photo, but there is one of the puffy stickers that says grateful for this day, and it fit kind of perfectly over the top of there, so I'm just going to layer that on there, and I'm going to add another one of these little, I guess, tiny phrase stickers in underneath there as well in a dark blue, and this really is kind of the like extent of like the clustering that goes on this week. Not a whole lot. This is probably the most sort of complicated card that there is. My next thought was to start working on my title card, so I trimmed down the paper. I'm kind of really unsure at this point what I'm going to do with my actual like journaling card space there, so I've just pulled the pattern paper off for a moment. I want to kind of finish up the rest of it before I decide, I guess, what the most appropriate colors are to go in there, because I've got a lot of colors going on. So I just want to make sure that everything else is done before I choose which one of those journaling spots to use. It also occurred to me that it was a little bit weird that I'd only used one puffy sticker, and so I wanted to use a couple more. I added the little camera with that kind of citrony green color onto the photo of Lil, and I haven't quite worked out a place to put a third one, so I'm just going to move on to my title card. But I kind of end up with the same thing here that I did down the bottom, which was that there's a lot of florals. This is the actual floral die cut pack, and there's lots of ones that I guess I prefer to the one that I actually use, and you'll be able to see why, because the one that I actually use is like dark green and citron green, so it's like two very non-me colors, but it actually suits the layout the best out of all of them. So I've used that leaf with the dark green down the bottom, and I kind of want to replicate that up the top. Lots of these florals have got a navy blue sort of leaf, which, don't get me wrong, I totally love. It just doesn't kind of go with this particular layout. I guess because I've got that large, that photo enlargement, and so much of that is actually green, it just makes sense to have the darker green in here. So I am going to use that strip sort of die cut piece that I used. I just think it ties all those colors nicely together. And you can see me now, I'm desperately trying to add a little bit of light blue in here, but it actually looks better without it. So I'm just going to leave it as it is. I've used my temporary adhesive so that I can go ahead and add that back in. And then I decide what I'm going to do as far as my kind of journaling card goes. So I still need to add some alphas to my title card, but I'm going to have to dig through my stash to find something that fits. So again, I'm just going to leave that till the end because I didn't get any alphas with this collection. So I decided I'll finish that off once I know what all of these colors are. Now I kind of had two of these, I'm going to call them cards, that I wanted to I guess, audition on the layout. So one was a grey and one was this green. And you know how I feel about green, so I was quite desperate for the grey to work, but it actually just didn't. The green just suited it so much better. I'm kind of really glad that I went through that no pink month earlier in the year. It just, I guess, opened my mind a little bit more to using other colours that I wouldn't necessarily go with. So you can see here, I'm like trying to make pink work. There's a little bit of pink in that puffy sticker right next to it, and in the rainbow stripe, but to my eye, it just stood out like a sore thumb. It really did. So look at me go. Here I am with the citron green, and it just looks so much better. So that's what I'm going to go with. I just adhered that little spot onto the actual journaling card and then ran it through my typewriter. Wasn't a huge amount to talk about this week, so there was a little bit of a gap at the bottom. I'm going to add another puffy sticker in there. Now I have added a couple of bits of that navy blue, but it kind of occurred to me that it works nicely. There's a little bit of that sort of darker blue in the top of my photo enlargement that you can't see right at the moment. And I went and grabbed out these very old pink paisley alphas. I love them. It's a very muted metallic pink, so it brings out some of those little pink pieces in there, but it's also the foam that it's made of is navy blue. So again, it all kind of ties back in together. There's a lot of colors going on in here, but it all sort of coordinates nicely. Now I didn't want to add in a label, so I'm just going to stamp directly onto that little die cut piece, and that is this week's layout all done. This is such a pretty collection, and I really did buy it with Project Life in mind, and so I am super happy with how this layout turned out. Hey, thanks for watching today, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, I'm going to leave a couple of videos here on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you again really soon. Bye!